Hi, everybody, and welcome to the latest episode of the Endless Celts Podcast. And as you can see, we're not audio anymore. We are visual. We are on a video platform, and it's absolutely fantastic. I'm delighted to be joined by my
Yes.
co-host John and show regular Francis. How you both doing, boys?
Yeah,
Right.
good, mate. It's good
Cheers.
to
We've made
be
it
trying
live.
this
We've
finally.
made it live.
Oh, is he opening the
And
beer?
tonight we're drinking for the bottle.
All I've got is coffee. That's me.
I mean, to be fair, man, all I've got is tea, but we'll join you in this on this thing anyway. But look,
We treat
As well.
Prosecco. We treat Prosecco.
re per
Can we
second,
cut-
re per
we're,
second.
we're cutting that.
I just want to ask myself for nothing.
But I mean, guys, it's been quite a week in Scottish football. And we have to start with the news that everybody's talking about, and that's the sad passing of Walter Smith. Now, yes, he was the manager of our fierce rivals Rangers, but again, you set rivalry aside for this sort of thing, and he did bridge the gap between Celtic and Rangers. I mean, Tommy Byrne's best friend, the amount of tributes has been pouring out for him from certain individuals. Ali McCoy on Talksport was very emotional. And just to come to yourself, John, just a wee bit about Walter Smith as an individual. And I know he did torture us Celtic fans in the 90s, but he had success. It's unrivaled in terms of Rangers managers anyway.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I think that my heart goes out to his friends and family, and even Rangers fans to an extent, because we know how much he obviously meant to the club and the fans as well. And like he says, he had a relationship with Tommy that we've seen throughout the years as well. The two of them are really, really close. And I'll never forget Walter for when Tommy died, and he was at the forefront when he was carrying his coffin and things like that. So, I mean, I've not got like you mentioned, he was obviously the manager of our biggest rivals, and he tortured us in the 90s. And growing up, for me, all I knew was Rangers winning league after league after league, and Walter played a big part in that. But I've not got a bad word to say. I mean, an absolutely stellar career, and I think the football world at large is worse off without him.
Well, it was pretty evident. I mean, Postecoglou got questioned about Walter Smith, and yet again, Francis, the Scottish media think he's from Mars, but he was well aware of who Walter Smith was, who he was as an individual, and it just kind of points to the influence that he had across not just Scottish football, but world football in general.
Yeah. I totally echo what John says in that, and I'm just a couple of years older than John, so when it comes to football, my memories of Walter Smith, it doesn't remind me of good times, if you so to speak. So, but it did give us that famous night in France, him and McFadden, when McFadden scored that wonder goal. So, for a Scotland point of view, it gave me some nice memories. But as a club manager, I can't think of any good memories that I've got off the top of my hand as a club manager. But as a man, you need to look on Twitter for a couple of minutes the other day. And I think you see a true character, a man, when you see the outpouring of support and stuff, and well wishes at getting, like John said, just best wishes just out to his friends and family and that. And like you said, Stephen, that Alan McCoy interview, I think that was 10-15 minutes after the news broke, and we all know how close they two are together, and for him to do that was brave, and it was heartfelt. And I like how McCoy's concentrated more on the family man as opposed to Walter Smith, the football man, which is true. It's somebody's lost a husband, a father and a grandfather. So yeah, it's not a nice time, but like I say, it's a true character of the man when you see the divide just come together. And it was, like I'd put on Twitter, it was not a day to mourn. It was not a day to be worried about rivalries. It was a day to mourn the loss of a great Scottish football.
Yeah, that's a perfect way to put it. And we at the Endless Celts Podcast pass on our best wishes to Walter Smith's family and friends, and Rangers as well. They've lost a great manager. But look, we'll move on to on the field matters with Celtic. And we've seen Celtic go to Easter Road, a notoriously difficult venue. I mean, Anthony informed us. I mean, I didn't know anyway. We didn't win a league game there since 2014. And just coming to yourself, Francis, first here, briefly, before we go into player performances and stuff. Get into the game, we were all confident we would get the win. We did 3-1, and the first half was some fantastic football. But brief summary of the game, how did you feel about it?
Yeah, it was. I mean, the first half was one of the best 45 minutes I think we've played this season. We were absolutely phenomenal, and I know we'll touch on it when we come to players and stuff, but I think losing Rogic maybe played a bit of a part in our second half performance, along with Hibs obviously inevitably doing a bit better. But I think it showed we've seen two sides of Postecoglou. We've seen the sort of I wouldn't say it was gung ho the first 45 minutes, but it was proper attacking football. It just looked like we were cutting them open at ease and going forward really well. Then the second half, obviously, because I think the Rogic substitution played a big factor, and forced substitution, obviously, and you seen them just sitting in, accepting the result and stuff, and saying, right, I know Hibs had scored just before half time, but it sort of just seemed to play a style that was like, look, right, we'll sit in, we've got to be more tactical, we'll try and kill the game. And Joe Hart had a really good save in the second half, but apart from that, I don't really remember them having any real glaring opportunities. They obviously had the one at the first half, but I think it was again a good save for Joe Hart. But I think I can't remember if it was the boy Neil, but I think he should do better with the one in the first half. Whereas the Murph, I think it was Murphy the second half that I don't really think the boy Jamie Murphy could do any more. But it was just it was a great save for Joe Hart. So yeah, I think it was two different performances. It was a proper game of two halves, and the first 45 were absolutely frightening to a man. Everybody was brilliant, and then the second half it was more control, just sitting, and Hibs came out a wee bit more and played with a wee bit more freedom. But yeah, I think we still, in the main, we kind of controlled it, and I think a lot of that's gone by the Aberdeen, Ferencváros, the Motherwell game, and St John's. Just the confidence seems to be there in the team and in the fans now.
Yeah, I totally agree with what you said there. And I mean, Francis made a great point there, John. Joe Hart made that great save from Newell. I mean, to be fair, he could have chipped it over his leg, but he didn't. Joe Hart made the save, and I think them sorts of things in the game is quite vital. We haven't had that presence. I know me and Francis were in the Barcast cheerleading group in some points, but I mean, them sort of saves at them moments give you the confidence to kick on and get that win, don't they?
Yeah, no, absolutely. And like I say, we've been screaming for a goalkeeper like that now since during last season, even we were struggling. And obviously, Hart, as we all know, he's a world-class talent. He's obviously at the latter end of his career, but we know how good he has been. And I mean, he's shown that he's still capable of pulling out magnificent saves, and it definitely can make a difference having a good goalkeeper between the sticks. So I thought the save was vital. But in terms of the performance overall, I don't think, like Franny says, I don't think we ever looked like we were at risk of losing the game. Then, other than that chance, I don't think Hibs really threatened. The goal that they scored was an odd one because it's like they didn't even connect with it really well, and it just kind of left Hart kind of wrong-footed because I don't think anybody was expecting it to come off the way it did. It just took an awkward bounce. But these things happen. But luckily, obviously, by the time that happened, we were coasting. So it was just a case of seeing the rest of the game out. But like that first half, man, the fact that it didn't finish about 6 or something by the end of the half is phenomenal. But yeah, I mean, Hibs definitely came to play the second half. I actually heard on the news today that Jack Ross said he apparently they were all at each other's throats at half time. So I think that kind of perked him up a bit and kind of gave him a kick in the arse, so to speak. So, but you can definitely see the confidence growing with each passing game, and the style of football we're playing is things are starting to click. And as I've said previously, it's just a matter of time. And then once everything clicks, I think we're just going to coast it.
I think you both touched upon there the first half, and it was fantastic. I mean, a certain player, Francis, was great in that first half, was Tom Rogic. Obviously, he went off injured coming towards the end of that. But, I mean, up until then, you had the likes of Rogic, you had Johnston coming back, which was refreshing to see. He played well. Felipe Yada, again, just as usual self. Kyogo, Turnbull. It was just a fantastic team performance in that first half, wasn't it?
Yeah, I think to a man, everybody was brilliant in the first half. Like Rogic, I wouldn't even class it as vintage Rogic. It seems like a different Rogic. Like he's taking his game a wee bit to a different level. And yesterday was one of the best performances I've seen Rogic in 45 minutes, and that's high praise for a guy that we all know what he's done for Celtic and that, and how well he's performed in previous years. But I think, I mean, if it wasn't for him getting kicked off the park, he would have been my man of the match. But I said, like Ralston, I can't look by him last night. I know me and you have said in the past, even that, I still stick by it. I think Juranovic is our best option going forward and at right back. But I'm not going to sit and berate Ralston. He's definitely got a part to play in that team. I would be looking at get him down in another couple of years contract, because obviously he's only got this 1 year, but he's definitely that's. I've got 1 year to try and prove myself here, and the guy's playing brilliant now. And I thought, for me, Ralston actually taking his goal, brilliant, but yeah, Rogic for 45 minutes, Rogic was absolutely frightening yesterday, and everything was going through him. He was playing nice passes, doing the nice wee turns where you can't get the ball off him, and Tumble again missed a sitter, but again he set up the goal and stuff for Ralston, which was a great header. Everything we seemed to touch in the first half from an attacking point of view. Everything was coming off, and like John said, I love 3-1. We're kind of out, but we should have been well out of touch. It could have been a 5-7 at half time, and you'd have on the face it, you've really been surprised with that.
Yeah, I mean, you touched upon Ralston, John, and he makes his either words every week, and I've been vocal about it, and I'll continue to be. Yeah, no, but I know what I'm saying. Yes, me in particular. I believe Juranovic going forward is going to be the first choice. But the way Ralston's playing, he's going to be a solid, first team player. Come in whenever he's needed. He took that goal fantastically well, John. And one thing that I said to my granddad when we were watching it is you never really see Celtic score a diving header, and especially from a set piece. It was a fantastic goal, and as Francis touched upon Rogic, for that third goal, he danced around like six players. It was unbelievable. He gave it to Yada, he put it in for Kyogo to finish. It was scintillating football, and as you guys both touched upon, if it was 7-0, you wouldn't have complained. But in terms of what you said before, John, about clicking, in terms of we'll probably coast it, do you think that first half shows when Postecoglou's teams are in full flow, that's what they can do?
Yeah, definitely, and I think we've seen elements of it since the start of the season, and I think we've all seen it, and we've all spoke about it. I think the first couple of games this season we gave a couple of teams absolute doings, and then it kind of fell off, because we started to see. I think they were thinking a lot like pre-season. We didn't look too comfortable last season. Teams were attacking us and causing all sorts of problems, so they didn't really feed us. But now, I think teams after the first couple of games this season have seen we are going at your throats for the first whistle, and we're going to maintain that. And we've started to see all teams we're facing, every single one of them. I've not seen one not do it, where when we're in possession and we're pressing them high, they've got 10, 11 men behind the ball, and it's very, very difficult to break down. And I think that one of the things that we're noticing is each game progresses and confidence progresses, and these guys that have all, and remember, Postecoglou's practically brought in an entire new first 11. And these guys are all starting to learn to play together, and things are starting to click, and I think that's evident in the way that we're playing football. Rogic as well, just touching on that, performances like yesterday, it was a shame he only got the time he did, but the time he was on the park, he was untouchable. And we know he's capable of stuff like that. We've seen it in the past. But I think Ange is managing to bring the best out of him again, which is great, and I think we're only going to benefit for it. If you remember earlier on in the season as well, first few games we were a bit worried that maybe Rogic and Turnbull wouldn't they fit together in the same sort of team, and we had to have thing. But I think that they've managed to sort of work together, and they've certainly worked on the way they're playing and things like that, and their positioning, and it's definitely starting to click for me. But yeah, and Ralston as well. Like I mentioned, I pointed out to you, he's making you eat your words, because it's like I've said for the start, he's been phenomenal. Like since the start of this season, he's been absolutely phenomenal. He's not put a foot wrong. I think Celtic fans are guilty. They're expecting it to just drop off. I don't think they're expecting him. He continues week in, week out. He's maintaining it, and I think that's surprising a lot of people, because I think there's an element of the Celtic support who are expect that that's not going to last. They can't maintain that, and to an extent, you can sort of agree. I don't think any player in that Celtic team can maintain that sort of level consecutively throughout the course of the season, which is why it's good to see the kind of rotation that Ange is playing with. But I mean, at this stage, I know Juranovic is a lot of guys' first choice going forward, and I suspect that probably will be the case. But as it stands right now, I don't see him taking Ralston's place in that team. I don't see how you can justify it either.
I mean, it's not just about justifying it for me. It's about, yes, Ralston, he's played well, yeah, but we've seen games, maybe not so recently, but in that wee dip where you said the wee bit of a lull, where he showed his usual form, where he went back and kind of regated to what we all seen him do at like St Johnstone or Dundee United or when he first broke through at Celtic. But I do agree with you. He's performing consistently well now, and I think Postecoglou has a lot to do with that, Francis, as well. The way he plays, he spoke about Ralston. He said that Ralston's improving. He wants to learn, and that's the type of player Postecoglou wants. And you look at Yada, I think these guys are feeding into what Postecoglou's telling them, and it's paying off the pitch. And I mean, we do have to eat our words in some sort of way here because Ralston, as I said, he does continue to perform, doesn't he?
And I'll happily hate any Celtic player make me eat my words, because if that's what's happening, it means Celtic are generally should be winning the game, and I'll like in a roundabout way, I'll be happy. So if any player that I criticise and maybe the next game goes and has an 8 or a 9 out of 10, I'll happily eat my words if that's the case. And to talk about Ralston, yeah, it's the guy is really playing good. He's a solid 7 out of 10 every week now. Sometimes better, but he's guaranteeing you a 7 out of 10 week in, week out. He's guaranteeing you 100% effort. He's not got all the ability in the world. He's not the best football player, but he's trying to make the best of what he's got, and he's doing that now. And another thing I like about Ralston as well, and it kind of, I'm not saying it for him, but you notice it in his team now, and when there's maybe like a wee fracas like the Chris Kane one at the weekend, Ralston was right up in the faces. There's a togetherness now in the team, and Ralston always seems to be in the forefront of any wee sort of scramash, a bad tackle. Ralston's there. And then you see the other put like Joe Hart, he's ran about 40-50 yards. It's probably the most he had to run against St Johnstone. He ran 40-50 yards. There's everybody's want to get involved in that. Like, I'm not saying we need to go and try and batter, like you want to just get silly bookings and that just to try and show you the big man, but it's no just sitting taking crap off the other teams. It's like you're all fighting for each other, you're all there in their faces. No, you're not necessarily in the referee's face, but you've got guys running 20-30 yards just to stick up for the players, and Ralston is always there or thereabouts. So he's not just contributing for a playing side, he's contributing for like a team mentality and just getting us like, come on, we're up for the fight here, and that we're here for everybody and that. So I've not got a bad word to say about the guy now, and long may it continue. If you must be doing something all right if we're putting the Croatian right back at left back.
Yeah, I think one of the things we need to remember as well, and we touched on this when Rodgers was a perfect example of it, about making players that are already there better. And I think just to touch on what you said just before Franny started speaking, Stephen, it has got a lot to do with Ange, and I think that Ange is the kind of manager that will bring the bit. We're seeing it with Rogic, we're seeing it with Ralston. It remains to be seen whether or not we're going to see the same sort of level with McGregor as we did under Rodgers. But I mean, I don't doubt that McGregor's still going to be like he's a captain going forward, and he's still going to be the sort of engine in that team. But yeah, I think Ange is exactly that kind of guy, that kind of manager who can bring the best out of players. Just
to come back up to there, you said McGregor's levels under Rodgers. Do you not think he's reaching that at the minute? No,
I don't know. Not to the same extent at the minute. No.
Wow.
I mean, I'm not. No. Listen, I'm not saying that Calmack's no performing, because he is, but is he performing at the same level as he was under Rodgers at the minute? I don't think so.
I think that's probably more that. I think it's probably more so down to what positions he's playing in. I think that kind of counteracts that, because he's playing as like the holding midfielder now instead of the 8 or 10 that he did under Rodgers. And Rodgers sometimes in the Rangers game deployed him on the left. So, I mean, I get what you're saying, but I have to disagree. I think McGregor's been one of our most consistent performers again this season, to be fair.
No, I get to disagree with me, Stephen.
But Franny made a great point in terms of Ralston being the guy who's there standing up for the team. And one thing I thought about Celtic last season was we were kind of weak, and we were especially weak in set pieces, whether it was conceding goals or trying to score goals from them. And what we've seen yesterday, John, was Celtic capitalise on a free kick, scoring a cracking diving header, and a corner kick, and Carter Vickers just tapped it in. It seemed like a training ground move, but that's a good sign for me, because it seems like a weapon that Celtic didn't utilise as much as they could have, especially last season. Do you think it's the key to exploit that going forward?
I see. I don't think it's a case that it's something we've failed to utilise. I think we've tried to. We've just not had to. We've just not been able to get on the end. We've been putting a lot of balls into the box. We've just not had anybody getting on the end of them. But obviously, it's something we've been working at, our own set pieces, because it is something we've struggled with. And I feel like, yesterday was the first time I've really seen it come to fruition, and it happened twice. So it's too early to say whether or not that's going to be the case. But it certainly looks like it's something we're working on the training ground, and I'm hoping, at least going forward, that it's something we're seeing a lot more of, because it seems the style of football we're playing, we're using an awful lot of width and we're swinging the ball into the box, and that's why it's good to have guys like Ralston and Giacomakis and that in the team, bigger guys who can get in the end of those kind of balls, especially for set pieces. But I still, I don't think it's, as you say, that it's just a case of we've no really had anybody getting on the end of them. But I don't think it's no through trying. But it's good to see it working there.
It's probably ever since Big Julian went out injured, isn't it? He was the guy who was getting on the end of cross balls, or whether it be a free kick situation, Francis. But it is kind of a throwback, isn't it, to see? I mean, diving headers at Celtic is a rare thing for me. And then obviously Carter Vickers getting that goal from the corner kick. It is refreshing in a way, isn't it?
As we just like, I know it's going back a wee well, but if you go back to like the Neil and Strachan teams, getting a corner was almost like getting a penalty. You were confident you were going to score for one. And I cannot remember a time when we were like last season under Lennon, we were just horrendous corners and set places. I'm kind of siding with John in the sense that I think it's more, I would say we're more just improving that set pieces as opposed to, obviously you've got to be practicing set plays and things like that in training, but I just think it's our quality delivery is getting better. We're getting better players that will attack it and stuff now. So when you kind of mix them two together, it is kind of simple. You would like to think if you do a wee bit more practice, you get guys that are willing to put their head in where it gets hurt. Like, I know Ralston essentially was a free header, but it's a diving header and things like that, and he's to run and stuff. So it's guys are willing to make a run, have a wee gamble on that. So it should, in theory, give you more chances to score goals, and you should create more chances. So I think it's just simply we're doing set plays better. Because like you look at last week, like Christie was absolutely horrendous at crossing the ball. Absolutely, it was either hit the first man or went miles out. So I just think when you actually just get a guy taking decent set plays and 2 or 3 boys willing to attack it, you're inevitably you're going to create chances. You might not necessarily win the header like for instance with Ralston's one. He's made the run. He might not get the header, but he's dragging a defender away, and it might get a wee ricochet. You get a tap in, so things like that can also cause confusion and stuff. It's just so I just think I'm with John in the sense that I just think we're practicing them, not necessarily as a weapon, but every team should be half decent enough. Every professional team should be half decent enough when they get a set piece, whether that be a corner or a free kick in the attacking further in a dangerous area, just to kind of put teams under pressure. Because last season we probably had it countless times, and you were as well as just giving them a bye kick or something, because you just never ever felt you were going to score for it. Whereas this season, I'm not saying every set place we're going to score from, but you've got players now at Starfelt, Carter Vickers, obviously Ralston, that are willing to kind of put their head in where it might get hurt, and they're making wee runs and they're challenging. So I think it's just simply we've got better at them, Stephen. Simple as that.
Yeah, I mean that's fair to say. And one of the goal scorers was Carter Vickers, Francis, and I mean at the moment he's strolling through games easy for him. I think he's not like a defender, as we said in the previous show. He's not a flashy defender where he like a Christopher Eye where he takes players on, comes into the pitch and links the play from midfield. He's just a non-compromising centre back, gets stuck in, clears the ball and does his job, and that's what Celtic were crying out for. And if I was Michael Nicholson, I was about to say Peter Lowell, imagine me saying that in the first video podcast. But I mean, if I was Michael Nicholson, I'd be picking up the phone to Spurs, much like I would with Jada, and be like, "What money do you want for him?" And just take him, because he's fantastic at the minute, isn't he?
We do actually
I think
we do have a deal.
The option, I think it's agreed, isn't it?
Aye.
Just not,
much like Joe, I think there's already. I don't know, but I think there is a fee agreed.
Aye, for both of them, aye. I think there is. I just only know. Well, I say only know. Everybody seems the worst kept secret. It's $6.5 million for Jota, but I've never really heard anything for Vickers. But yeah, I would like we spoke on. I think it was the other week. This and Carter Vickers. He's it doesn't look the top. He might be tall, but he doesn't look 6'5" or anything. But you can see he's a fair old unit, and he is proper old school. I think Starfelt similar. He's a bit old school. We've got two centre halves now that look like they want to just defend first and foremost. They're not really interested in passing, but I think if you look at our passing stats, I think they two are probably got the most passes, but it's just wee sideways passes. But yeah, I think Carter Vickers especially, since we're talking about he looks like he just loves the art of defending, like win a header, win a tackle, just is no interested in 50, 60, 70 yard diagonals. Like, I actually think a Krista Fryer would have thrived under a Postecoglou, because I think Postecoglou wants his defenders to maybe do that, but I think it shows Postecoglou's how good a manager is. He's like, well, this is the guys I've got, that's not their game, let's adapt to their game, we'll get the best out of them however they can play. And I mean, there was one point, I think it was Nisbet that was running through yesterday, and it actually looked like Carter Vickers had ran by it and totally misjudged it, but you see it just cuts right in front of Nisbet, gets it on the return, he's away. Like, just, it looked like a boy taking, like a big boy taking the sweeties off the wains in that, man. He just wasn't like ability, it was so easy for him just getting the ball off Nisbet, and him and Starfelt are now, Julian's got to have his work cut out to come into the team, but again, that's only good for us, because then you hope that then pushes Carter Vickers and Starfelt on to another level when they know we've got a £7 million striker that is probably right up Angie's street, in the sense that Julian can play the 60, 70 yard diagonal passes up the park, and that probably Kyogo will thrive off. So it can only bring it in. He's a threat from an attacking point of view for set places. So you hope that competition at a big team is healthy, and so you hope that when Julian is back firing fit, it brings on Starfelt and Carter Vickers even more, which can only bode well, because the two of them, especially Carter Vickers, are playing really well now.
I think you actually make a great point bringing Starfelt into the conversation, Francis. And I mean, up until probably a few weeks ago, even some Celtic fans were saying when Julian comes back, he's a shoot-in. He's a shoot-in to come back into the side. Yeah. And it just points to the fact, John, you get the media still saying the Celtic shaky defence, blah, 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 but we're the joint best defensive league record in the league with Dundee United. And you look at it, Cameron Carter-Vickers, as Franny said there, he's just an old school defender, much like Starfelt. Maybe not the Postecoglou mode, but he's definitely adapted to the way they want to play, and it's working well at the moment, isn't it?
Yeah, no, definitely. I think Carter Vickers is strolling it. I think it's not a case of I think he finds it easy. He is just he's a quality defender, and like you say, he's no nonsense centre back. He does the job he's needed today. He doesn't try to be flashy. Doesn't need to be flashy. Some of the best defenders Celtic have had over the years were the exact same, and they all ended up cult hero. Like Bobo, he was never a flashy player. In fact, as a footballer, he was probably nonsense, but he could defend. He put the fear into people because he was a solid defender, and people didn't want to go near him. And Mialbi was the same. So I think that Vickers sort of fits that mouldy, like the Celtic defender that at least that we are used to seeing. And he's coasting through it. He makes it look easy. Like, I'm not comparing him to Van Dijk, obviously he's nowhere near that level, but Van Dijk made it look easy, and I'm seeing similar. Vickers, I don't think he's obviously knows he'll never be a Van Dijk, but he's coasting through games at the minute with relative ease. And like you mentioned, Starfelt as well. I've backed him since the start, and I've said he needed time, and he was starting to come good as he started to gel with his teammates, and he started to get used to the football we're playing, and used to the Scottish game as well, and the pace and everything else. And I think we're starting to see it now, because with each game he seems to just grow in confidence himself. I've noticed that Starfelt does like a wee run forward though. He's taking a few more chances, and that just shows you his confidence as well. He's taking those chances, and he's moving the ball up the park. So I mean, I think he's still trying that, but he's no overdoing it. Which is a good thing, because the last thing you want to see is your centre half trying something like that and then make an absolute asset. So I think the both of them are doing really well. They're developing a really good partnership at the minute. And when Julian comes back, it's going to be difficult, because I mean, who do you drop? But the competition for places is going to be good. And it gives a couple of other guys the ability to rest. We've still got Welsh as well, who never put a foot wrong. We'll still see him get another chance. and we've got a couple of other guys. I think that when people all start coming back for injuries and everything like that, and as the season progresses, and around about January when we can bring in a couple more guys, we'll start to see a lot more in terms of rotation. As we're getting guys' legs a rest, because like you say, you can't maintain this for a full season, but having depth and having quality in those positions is something I think that we need and we're going to see going forward.
Yeah, I mean, you're absolutely loving that whole Starfelt thing. I can see it because everything.
No, but I mean,
I think everyone is in this podcast apart from John wrote him off. I say wrote him off. We weren't having him.
No, I mean he did make mistakes
early on. Smug.
Well, I mean, he did make mistakes, and I did say, I'm just saying, like, he needed time, and I think a new guy coming to the country, new style of football, new, like, the Scottish game itself, people make it to be
John,
easy.
That's Ralston and Starfelt you've got right. All right.
I'm just saying.
Yeah, but look, I want to throw in a bit of controversy here in regards to the game, and we did speak about Tom Rodgers having to go off injured. And the tackle on McGregor from Ryan Porteous. Now, I'll come to yourself, John, first for this. Yes. The Ryan Porteous one for me is a definite red card. It was dangerous play all day long. I don't know how it was just the yellow. You've seen the marks in Conor McGregor's shins. And then you have Alex Gogic just constantly fouling Tom Rodgers. It's so hard to get them two in the same sentence. But, I mean... For persistent fouling and then Rodgers having to go off injured, I think he should have saw red, even a second yellow at some stage of that game. But come to yourself first. What's your opinion on them flashpoints?
Yeah, Gogic is definitely
before you go, John, I'm just going to set my alarm for about 6 o'clock tomorrow morning, right?
Aye, very good. No, but I was very vocal about this in our group chat, and I think that I said as well yesterday during the game, I was like, if you're going to put an in-play bet on Gogic for a red card as a shoe-in, it never happened, but it certainly looked that way because every time a player went near him, he was pushing him, he was tripping them up, he was taking kicks at them, and how he managed to stay on the park is beyond me. The Porteous thing, where did I start? It really depends on your outlook, right? It was a bad tackle, and there was certainly the way he went in was shocking. And if he'd have caught McGregor like properly, I mean that in any other day is a broken leg. Mm-hmm. So it's like there has to be an element of consistency because we saw Porteous against them get red carded for a very similar challenge. So you have to then ask yourself, well, is it just a bookable offence or is it a red card offence? In either case. In either game, either Porteous should have stayed on the park or he should have went last night. And again, this highlights what we touched on, and I mentioned specifically as well about the absolute disgraceful level of consistency within Scotland in the refereeing. And that just to highlight that as well, and this brings me on to my next point, and this is just touching on the other game with Aberdeen. A certain referee who was refereeing that game. I'm not going to get into the ins and outs, say why I think he should never be anywhere near a Rangers match, but what was it? They were doing 2-1, 80th minute. We've all seen the footage. Everybody's commented on it. Pundits have commented on it. And you even mentioned, Chris Boyd even says, and when Chris Boyd is saying it's not a penalty, then you have to but this is a guy who gave Rangers a penalty when they were desperately needing it for absolutely nothing that brought them right back into the game, salvaged a point. And then in fact, at the 90th minute, decided somehow, some way, that the game required another 7 minutes injury time. At what point do you actually do you just stop and have a look at what's happening and then say, something's not right? And teams in this country have to start calling it out. We know how the SFA like to defend their referees, and they'll do it vigorously. Robbie Nielsen just the other week as well questioned. He got sent off and then ended up with a 3-game ban for questioning it. How dare you comment on the refereeing performance? And I think managers are in a space where, and clubs are in a space where they're saying, don't bother saying anything because you're just going to get yourself in trouble. And it's shocking that it's even at that because these referees now think they're untouchable, but they need to be held to account. So it's about time we as fans, platforms like ours, podcasts, and especially more popular podcasts and other sort of fan media and stuff like that, start calling stuff like this out, because it can't continue. And the level of refereeing in this country is just disgusting.
Yeah, I mean, I think you make great points, and I can see yourself holding yourself back from just going on.
I'm really holding it, because I could rant the next hour about this, and my language would get extremely colourful, and I'd end up saying something I'd regret. But just I'll leave it there.
Yeah.
But it's shocking.
I can see what you're saying, but in regards to the Celtic game, Francis first. I mean, the portiest one for me, it's a red card all day. Gogic for me should have been sent off for persistent fouling. I don't know how he said on the pitch, like John said. And then obviously, while I was watching the game, you hear the filtered in from what's happening over at Ibrox with Rangers Aberdeen. Aberdeen were still 2-1 up in the 80th minute, and then the penalty comes through, and then the footage, and you're like, what's going on? It has to be called out at some point, doesn't it?
It does, and I know, like I spoke about it, I find it hard because I know folk will jump on the bandwagon to start a pile on saying, you're paranoid, this, it's that. But I think
see people, sorry, Frank, see people that want to say stuff like that. Fuck them. Because you're the only people that are defending it is their lot. Every other team in the country and every other fan base in the country can see it. So is it a conspiracy when you're the only fan base that's not seen it because it benefits you? My arse. No, but that's what, like, I think some circumstances when we're talking about it on the back of winning a game where it's no really affected the outcome, we're obviously speaking for a sort of a position of strength, if you like, if that's the right way to put it, because folk kind of then chuck at you saying, you're using that as an excuse, the referee's an excuse, when you're actually bringing up instances that haven't, in the grand scheme of it, haven't affected the outcome of the game, because we still won the game. Where, for me, I think the Porteous one as a booking, it's not the best challenge, but it is a booking, because it does win the ball, but he also does that scissor action as a foul. But for me, it's a booking, similar to the one that got sent off at Ibrox for a thing's booking. That then comes to consistency, but it's Scottish football's sort of to blame for the level of referees with. By the fact of what amateurs refereeing the professional game, because referees in Scotland are amateurs. They're not professional. Absolutely.
By trade, they're not professional. They're not professional referees. They are obviously at a better level than what you would class as a normal amateur referee, but essentially they are amateurs refereeing a professional game. But then if you're going to pay a guy, which I believe is around £1,000 in a Premiership game, and if these guys are working even 3-4 days a week, that's maybe still £200-300. If you're clearing the best part of £1,200 a week, you don't want to go professional as a referee, because the Scottish FA are going to have to then. I mean, you would like to think if they can afford to pay them £1,000, they should somehow be able to do that professionally and train them. So maybe that's the way to go. I'm not too sure about VAR coming in, because it's got to be the same guys running VAR. Whether you could somehow pay England some money and use their system and cameras and things like that, because they've got all the technology out. I'm not too sure if the feasibilities and the logistics of that could that be something you could utilise. You don't maybe necessarily get the VAR system yourself, because you could maybe utilise the Premiership stuff, just pay them a fee for using it. But then I would really want the English boys then refereeing it, because if you've got the guys that were questioning up here now, then running VAR, you essentially you're potentially get the same result. You're maybe not going to get the same results. It might just highlight some of the bad decisions. But I do find talking, because what I just said earlier, it's one of the ones where folk are going to do a pile on saying you're this, you're that. It's paranoia, but as a boy from my work tweeted, there's 3 certainties in the world: death, taxes, and a penalty at Rangers.
I mean, I think we all seen the Chris Sutton tweet where he said this is the worst they've seen, and I think we'll just leave it at that and move on, because as you said, we could go on all evening about it, to be honest. But look, I'll bring it back to the game, and the goal scorer that rounded off the victory was Kyogo. And again, John, for me, another fantastic performance. Bam, he just gets better week in, week out. I think that's 15 games, 12 goals, and something like 3 or 4 assists, and I think that's amazing, isn't it?
Yeah, I don't know the exact stats, so you might be. I'll assume you're right, but he's phenomenal, and I think that there was, for large portions of the game, he wasn't really involved, so to speak. But you know that at certain moments the ball's going to break to him, and his movement is going to. He must be giving defenders nightmares, and I think that you're just confident that if the ball comes to him, he's going to do something, and he's going to pull something out the bag, because he's absolutely magic, and I just love the wee guy. Like, I've not got a bad word to say about him.
I think as well, though, you make a great point. He wasn't involved in all the play and stuff like that, but Francis, when the ball comes to him, or his wee bit of movement, you know he's going to get a chance on goal or assist somebody, and that's what he does every game he starts. And he's a breath of fresh air. We talk about it every week, and it's repetitive, I know. I mean, but he's the best player by a mile. He's fantastic, like, isn't he?
He's been a revelation. Like you say, an absolute breath of fresh air. Like, it was quite strange, because obviously when we signed him, let's be honest, nobody knew about him. But you get excited when you hear figures like 5 million and that getting bandied about that it cost and that. And it's one signing that has properly caught the Celtic fans' imagination. One of the first in a wee while. Like, I think without any others, and like you look at Twitter and that, you see other sorts of Celtic podcasts and things like that, and we're all in the same boat with no idea who this guy is, but trusted in Postecoglou. We gave him a bit of, you had a bit of faith in him, because it was one of the ones you knew it was a manager signing, so it was one of them when you're like, well, we know this is a player the manager wanted, so we'll trust him and give him a wee bit of time. But we didn't give him a bit of time, because it was like his second game, he scores a hat-trick, and I think it is about 10 or 12 goals he's got, Stephen. It's just, you can't see him stopping, and like you say, his movement's ridiculous. And like, I know Iniesta's well at the latter part of career and things like that, but I don't know how good the Japanese league, but I mean, Iniesta will pretty much boss any league, to be honest. So if you're playing with a guy like Iniesta, you're going to make the runs, because you know he's got to inevitably 9 times out of 10 find you. So and you see that when he's at Celtic, he's making runs that unfortunately we've not got an Iniesta to play the passes, but a lot of the time we are finding him, and he's even just his runs. He does a lot of thankless running, because you'll see him. He does get a wee bit of. I've noticed that now. He does get a wee bit annoyed sometimes. He'll make a really good run and get picked out, but it opens up space for somebody else, and it'll maybe just two, three passes later, he might then receive the ball. But even if he maybe make 3 or 4 runs, never receive the ball once, but it doesn't stop running. He's like, well, I'll make that run, because one time I will get picked out, and inevitably it does. He'll end up scoring out it. So it does a lot of thankless running for me as well, that the team benefit from, because it creates spaces. Then you see the difference when he's not in the team. Like, he also is the one that sort of presses from the front. You always say when you're the best form of defence is attack, and if we're going to press as a team, you need to do it for the front. And he's generally always the focal point, and he's the one that's generally always doing the press, like starting off the press. So yeah, he's been an absolute breath of fresh. He's taken everything in his stride. He's Celtic fans to him. He seems to be embracing it all, and just wee little things that he does in that. He seems to be appreciated. That's maybe a cultural thing in that and stuff. But yeah, there's so many good things that could, like how John could rant about Saka, could rant about Kyogo for ages.
I think as well, another thing about Kyogo, it's fantastic. Every time he comes off the pitch, he does that wee bow to the pitch, and it's this respect, and the respect he has for like the fans already. For Ange Postecoglou, he's come in from Japan, and as you said, we don't know the standard, but I mean, if Iniesta's playing with him, he's making them runs all day long. And see, to be honest, I still think that's one part of our team to click in terms of Turnbull, McGregor, and Rodriguez finding him all the time. I do see what you mean in terms of him making them runs. You see it in the cameras when you're watching him, and he makes them darting runs from out the end, but no one's passing the ball. So I think that's another part for me anyway of the team to click. I don't know what you think, John. Would you be agreeing with that?
Aye, to an extent, yeah. I think but I also think Franny made a great point, because even if it doesn't work out and he doesn't find himself getting on the end of it or whatever, if a defender's paying attention, he's dragging him out of position and he's creating space. And defenders need to watch Kyogo, and they're going to be well wary of it, because they know he's capable. I mean, as the season progresses, and I think at this stage already, opposition teams know what Kyogo's runs are capable, what he's capable of doing in terms of his runs. So they need to watch him like a hawk. And if they're tracking their man, Kyogo makes a run, then he's dragging somebody out of position, he's creating space for somebody else potentially. So it has its definitely pros and cons in it. But I think that, again, as they progress and they become more confident and they get used to each other, I mean, I think we're already starting to see a great partnership between Kyogo and Jota developing. I don't think Jota against Hibs out on the right was at his best. I think we definitely seen the best of him out on the left. But I mean, I think that's a partnership that's definitely going to develop into something special. And I think other guys, like we've got Turnbull. Turnbull's capable of threading a needle with a ball as well sometimes. So if I think it's a case of raising their awareness and making them a wee bit more aware of where Kyogo is in the park, and then attempting these sort of balls, because like he says, he's making these runs, and it can be frustrating when you make a run like that and then people aren't seeing it, or the ball's not coming to you. But I think that'll come in time, definitely.
Yeah, I mean, this run of form that Celtic Ground has propelled us to second in the league, 2 points off top spot, Francis, with a far superior goal difference. And with the run of games coming up, we've got Livingston here on Saturday at home, and then the run of games after that. Are you confident that coming into January we'll be in touch and distance, if not top of the league? I know it's too early to say. I mean, title challenges, win the league, blah blah blah, because the whole transition thing gets through about, and if we hit a bad run of form again, that word's going to crop back up. But at the moment, the way we're playing, it looks good going forward, doesn't it?
Yeah, I think it does, and I think a lot of that has got to come down to the fact that I wouldn't necessarily say it's Postecoglou adapting. I think it's more the team are adapting to what Postecoglou wants, or understanding more like wants, where it's the sort of pressing and the attacks seem more deliberate and more like planned, as opposed to 100 miles an hour try and batter a team. It's like you touched on, Stephen, we're pressing them in certain areas, try to force them into certain areas, then it's to try and just set traps, if you like, and stuff. So I think I'm confident that we can. I mean, we're on a wee mini run. What's that, 4 or 5 games we've won on the bounce? So we're on a wee mini run. So if we could put another 4 or 5 games, win that, like that's I know there'll be a couple of European games, so you're potentially talking 20 odd points, like league points, in a space of 10, like maybe 5 or 8 games or something. So if you can put an 8-game winning streak on the league, and that's got to keep you in touch, and you've just got to kind of take it step game by game. That all cliche, like game by game, but then now, because like I say, as a new team, there might be slip-ups, but if you keep turning into performances like we have been recently, the team's going to have confidence in that, and it's no coincidence that obviously we're getting more and more players back, so the manager's getting more and more options. The bench is looking healthier. Like, you just look at the I think it was the St Johnstone game. Substitutions made a massive difference. They all contributed to the game and stuff. So we've got that option now to switch it up a wee bit and give guys a rest. Like Kyogo always comes off, which I love. McGregor was coming off at the start, and McGregor gets subbed a lot, which I love. It's just taking key players off. Your rest game's done. No worried about individual stats or that. Just get them off, keep them for next week and things like that. So yeah, I think if we can keep in touch with this. We're definitely. I've not got to come out and say we're going to win the league, because somebody will be able to go, aye, like what he said, and that, and I'll make a foot. But we're definitely within a title race. If we're in, like I would even say if we were in, I don't believe we'll be as much as 5 or 6 points. But if we're in it in less than 5 or 6 points, even 5 or 6 points, come January and we strengthen again, we've got to be in the mix. But I think at most will be 2 points off. I think it'll be something similar now, if not potentially ahead, because if you look at our fixtures compared to their fixtures, and we can only base it on what we're seeing now in form, I mean, I would maybe need to look at Rangers' fixtures more like the past, but we must be on of similar form. But more of their games have been at home. We've been away to Tynecastle,
No, you're
away
right.
to
You're right.
Pittodrie, away to Hibs. We've had a lot of. We've been away to Motherwell and stuff, so we've got all the games to come at home where they've still to go away to Tynecastle and all these grounds have to go away to Pittodrie. They've got away to Livingston and that, so they've got some tricky games in the next round of fixtures. So
it's something like they've got 2 home games in the next 6 or something. So I mean, they've definitely got a tougher stint coming up than we have.
So if you're sort of similar points, then come January, like it's always good to strengthen for a positional strength. So if we're on a good run, then I suspect we'll probably drop, maybe lose a game or 2 or draw a few games up until January. I think it would only be ludicrous to think we're going to win every league game, but if we do, fantastic. But yeah, I think if we're in touching distance, we're still picking up plenty of wins. 2 or 3 players, if we can do that in January, it's always hard to pick up to get deals done in January. But he's obviously touched deal with the going to the Japanese market, and if we can find another Kyogo, then fine. So I think we'll certainly be in the talking. I think come January 31st anyway, when the windows. I think we'll be strengthening from a position of strength.
I think as well, John, Francis makes a great point in terms of the venues we've been at. We've already chalked them off the board. We've got a few home games coming up to look forward to. And as you pointed out, Rangers have a tough fixture list. I think it's what you said, 2 home games in the next 6 or something around
something
about that.
Like that. I might be slightly off, but they've definitely got fewer home games than they have away games over the next couple of weeks.
So come January then, what position do you think we'll be in?
Top of the league.
Top of the league.
Well, I mean, if you look at it, where were we 3 weeks ago? They were saying the league was done. They were saying, well, we're something like, 6 or 7 points off the pace. We were sitting maybe 6th or 7th in the table. They were talking about the league was finished. Rangers were going to run away with it. You're 3 weeks down the line, and barring that disaster last night, because this is recorded on Monday, it would have been 1 point, but it's only 2, and we definitely are the form team. Rangers are struggling, and if this continues at the pace it is at the minute, then by January we could be flying.
Yeah,
we could be running away with it, potentially. So I know what Franny was saying. You don't want to be that guy who people go back, no, you say this and that, but I'm saying it. I'm saying it. We're going to win comfortably. Because see, once we shrink, I think we're already the strongest team in Scotland at the minute, right? I don't think that's up for debate, and I think that we're certainly the strongest team in Scotland at the minute. If we strengthen in January, which we're fully expected to do, add depth in certain positions, then I don't see any other team touching us. Especially if we maintain this level of football and things continue to click and progress the way they are.
Yeah, I 100% agree with you. I think as well, the way we're playing, the way we're going at the moment, the confidence is flowing for the team. And one good point that you both made is the strength of the team coming back now, the injuries coming back, the bench looks stronger, looks far more healthier. And even the likes of Abada coming off the bench, it added a new dimension to the team in the last 10 minutes against, I went out of my head, oh my God. But you know what I mean? It adds a new...
I don't know what you mean.
Hibs, right? It adds a new dimension to the team, and it makes the team look more fresher, look more fitter. And rotation, as John said loads of times there, it's going to be key going forward, especially like Ralston's going to need rest, that Juranovic going to come in, Montgomery, whoever it is at left back. So it all bodes well going forward as with a form team. But look, we've got a game here on Saturday against Livingston at home. And the previous game against Livingston, Franny, we lost 1-0 from an Andrew Shinnie goal. Now, I expect this game to go far differently. I think, in my opinion, we should get a comfortable win. But how are you feeling about it?
Yeah, I think like Livingston at home for us it's a different kettle of fish. So it's a bigger park. They won't be able to just sort of sit in and keep it tight and just sort of sit so far behind the ball. There'll be more spaces for us to expose and stuff. McGregor's got to be back playing. I think he was a big miss at the home game for Livingston. So just simply the way we're playing now, we're we're in a lot better places than we were back there. We're not playing on the AstroTurf pitch that and have most teams struggling and stuff. So I think you've got to be. You can't be anything but confident going into Saturday's game, and it's a chance to go tweak, albeit it could only be for 24 hours. But as I've touched on before, Steve, we can only do our job until we actually play Rangers again. All we can do is win our game, and if we're both playing in the Europa League, we'll generally either play on the same day. So all you can really do is win your game, and if it kicks off before their game, you're potentially putting whatever pressure you can on their performance if you win the game. So, yeah, I think you've got to be confident going into the way you're playing, be a bigger park and stuff. And as I say, it's a chance to go top of the league, albeit for 24 hours, but you've got a chance to go top of the league and go, right, well, it's your turn. Let's see what you've got.
Mm-hmm. Great point. And what about yourself, John? I know Franny said it's a different kettle of fish at home. I totally agree. What are you expecting?
Yeah. No, absolutely. I agree with everything Franny said there. It is a completely different kettle of fish. The fact that we're not playing on that garbage AstroTurf is going to make a significant difference. Obviously, and being at home in front of 60,000 of your own fans is going to make a difference. And like you say, having players back that we're missing in that game. So I think we've got a wee bit of righting the wrongs today, because I think Liverpool. Livingston.
I don't know if I just with them.
Not just me. You've done it.
Oh, it happens. Livingston.
Fancy putting them in Saturday.
No. I think the result, mate. Yeah. But Livingston fans got a wee bit gassed last time after that victory, despite the fact that I think we were still the dominant team. We just couldn't find our way through. They caught us on the break and got lucky. But listen, I agree with Franny. It's a different kettle of fish at Celtic Park, and I think that it's going to be a goblin.
And what about your lineup prediction, John? What are you going for?
I'm going to say Hart, Juranovic still on the left, Starfelt, Carter Vickers, Ralston at the back. I don't know what the situation with Rogic's injury is. I know it's a hamstring thing, but I don't know if he's going to be missed or rested for a bit. But could well see Beaton starting with Kalmak and Turnbull, I suspect. Jota back out on the left, Abada on the right, and Kyogo to start up front again.
Yourself, Francis, what are you going for?
Well, same back five as John. I think that's kind of picking itself now, just by how comfortable Juranovic is out in the left, and like we've touched on, you can't really drop Ralston. So yeah, it's Hart, Ralston, Carter Vickers, Starfelt, and Juranovic. I think Beaton will come in. I'm not sure where McCarthy is with injury, and just with the Rogic one, but being a hamstring, I suspect he's not going to be ready for Saturday, or it won't be risks. But so I think it'll be Beaton with Kalmak just in front of him and Turnbull. And I actually think he'll play Kyogo out in the right, Yacht on the left, and Giacomas up front through the middle. I think that's how he might go.
Interesting. I'll go for Joe Hart and goal.
Is that the way it's done against St Johnstone? So that's how he lined up against St Johnstone. Yeah,
he did. He did, to be fair. I'll go with Ralston right back, Carter Vickers, Starfelt, and I was about to say Greg Taylor, and Juranovic at left back. And then I'll go Turnbull, McGregor, Kyogo in the 10. I'm going to go for with Abada on the right, Jada on the left, and Giamakis for the middle. Now, I mean, it's. No, by the
way, I will say this. See, I actually agree with that. See, playing if you're going to start Giacomakis up front as a lone striker, then playing Kyogo as a 10. Is probably
it could work.
It could work because you've still got somebody coming in and making those runs through the middle and creating space. I don't think that Kyogo is what we get the best out of Kyogo on either side of the park, to be honest.
I totally agree, John. I totally agree. I just think I think you still get a bit out of you still get a decent performance out of it. But I do totally agree. I think it's because we know how well he plays through the middle. You're sitting going, we know we could be getting the fees in the middle right now. I think we're guilty. I think he's guilty being how good he is through the middle when you see him out wide, really.
Yeah. And the reason why I said a 10 is, as John said there, Giamakis up front of the zone, just bounce the ball off him, make them run. You can still make them runs and the players can find you. But come to yourself, John, first. Score prediction and score goal scorers as well, if you can.
4-0. I'm going to say Abada with 1, Kyogo with 2, and Turnbull.
Yourself, Franny?
I've actually got 4-0 as well, and I think Giakoumakis with a double, Jota, and I think Starfelt might get a goal. I think we'll get a wee set piece goal again.
I'll go 3-0. Turnbull to get 1, Jota to get 1, and Kyogo to get 1. Just basic. The usual levels with Celtic we expect nowadays, boys. But that brings us to the end of the show. But the quizzes come back. I can see John's face. He's slowly but surely sinking into that chair. But the quizzes come back. We're on video. No one can hide. So you know you know the rules, boys. It's obviously first who ever gets 3 right wins it, and the prize is nothing. But again, it's us watching John crumble. I'm looking forward to that.
Congratulations, Ryan.
John, I need to know because there's pressure. As I say, we're faces.
It's reverse psychology. I'm trying to trip you up.
Are you ready?
Mm-hmm.
No.
Question 1. In which season did Celtic first compete in the Champions League group stage?
2003. 2003.
No. John, one more guess.
2001.
Oh no.
2001. Yes, correct. What team did Celtic defeat to get through the Champions League group stage for the first time?
Bratislava. No, that was Strachan.
You're miles off, Danny. No. They're Dutch.
Is it that? I know, Ajax.
Yes, 1 each. What was the score on aggregate over the 2 legs?
3-2.
3-2.
2-1, John. Oh, he's coming it back.
I said 3-2 first. I well said 3-2 first.
Nah, it was John.
I've gone through Ross here. Oh my Jesus, man! I believe everything Ross said.
John,
I was honestly, I was actually 20 years ahead of you there.
20, right? You'll hear it back when the episode goes up.
Your head's still in Bratislava. Come down the years.
Nah.
Right, now, John, this could be the cleanser for you. This could be the cleanser, the first quiz victory here. Right, he's ready?
But John beaten in the quiz.
Hope you're not aiming that towards me. Right. Who was Celtic's first ever manager?
Well, Mealy.
Oh, 2 each. 2 each. Wow. Right now, come on. This is a decider, boys. John's got his nappy on his gun.
Before you ask this question, the fact I've even made it 2-2, I'll take that.
No, let's be honest. It's 3-1 because I got the Ajax aggregate score. I'm not having this, man.
I was like
Lubo,
5 seconds ahead of you.
Lubo Murazovic was brought to Celtic from which German club?
Düsseldorf.
No.
You've asked this question.
I know, and I thought it was Düsseldorf.
Did you say that last time?
Go ahead, John.
I think so. I think that's how I went to first to last time.
I can't even think.
Oh,
Frankfurt.
Just pass?
No.
Aye.
Wait there.
I'm never getting it.
Aye. Near ma. I think it starts.
MSV Duisburg or something. I can't really pronounce it, but you've got it.
Yeah,
I kent it was a D, and I kent you'd asked it, and I was on the last time. Yeah.
So we're back to the first time Celtic competed in the Champions League group stage. So who scored the only goal of the game when Celtic defeated Rosenborg at Celtic Park in a group stage match in October 2001?
Mark Burchell.
Chris Sutton.
No, it was a free kick. That should be an easy guess.
I don't even know.
Stan Petrov.
Mark Burchell even playing then?
Come on, free kick back in the Martinelli era. No, Alan Thompson. Oh
Alan
my
Thompson. God. Nakamura wasn't even there.
This is abysmal.
It was just a free kick and I stood with Nakamura.
Right.
I know.
I'll make it as easy again for you.
Quizzo will be back. That's first it's back in the last for ages.
Right, it's 2 each. Right, it's ready.
No.
Who was Martin O'Neill's first signing for Celtic?
Dean Lennon.
Chris Sutton.
No. Boom! Francis gets it.
Because he asked that for. Yeah, start from that's
well
Neil
done,
Lennon.
Francis, you've won the first quiz live on video. How do you feel?
Back to the Prosecco.
John, you can look up at the screen. We want to see you. Come on. But look, guys.
Listen,
What
Really, we just
Well
wanted
done,
to
Ross.
see your fancy TV behind you.
yeah, I don't
exactly.
even
That
need
there when
when
you
you
were
were
London.
see that.
Look, guys, this is our debut in video, and I mean, for me, I've enjoyed it. Have you guys enjoyed it?
It's been good. Long time coming.
I'm glad that's us done it. Glad that's us done it. We've got it kind of off the mark, and I'm glad that I've got. Well, you'll probably say I'm glad we've got the first one out the way, and it's now on Anthony and Ross and the rest to sweat over doing it live.
You sounded a bit like Postecoglou there in one of his pre-match interviews. But look, again, to everyone who's listening and watching, stay well and keep safe. Hail, hail.